Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of CastAways. I'm Stephanie, and I'll be your skipper tonight, talking about another actual skipper that we get to enjoy the company with this whole hour. It is our good friend Charlie. Charlie, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I am so excited to talk to you because we have yet to have, you're our first Disneyland cast member.
Well, I guess you're starting with the best, you know? It's all
That's
uphill from here.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So obviously you how long have you lived in California? All your life?
Yeah, my whole life. I spent a lot of my summers in Arizona, but the rest of the year I was in California. So I've been here in the LA area my entire life.
Oh, wow. So you really did grow up around Hollywood, around all
Hmm.
of the action and everything. Did you
Yep.
grow up a Disney fan since Disneyland, the original Walt Disney, was
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, and that's I know everybody has their affiliation to their home park and everything, but I
Hmm.
really do feel that Disneyland is the best because it's the one that I think had the most care and time and attention put into. Like it's been around longer, but also like
Mm.
when you have such a small footprint, you really got to be creative and selective. So everything is much tighter and you don't get as exhausted as you do at Disney World. Like you spend your whole
Oh,
day
for sure.
running at Magic Kingdom
Mm.
and Disneyland. You can kind of see, if you stand in one spot, you can see half of your day from one vantage point in the middle of the park. It's pretty small comparatively.
Hmm. You're not wrong. But that does, I think that's also funny because I joke with my husband. I say, okay, old man, you're out there. You love Disneyland more than Disney World now because you can get from one end to the other so quick.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
do think that there is such a charm to Disneyland and the nostalgia of it all. Did you grow up going out there?
Hmm. Oh yeah, we were pass members. I got my
Okay.
first pass in 1995 when it was $99, and
Wow.
I still have that pass, and it's got my picture on it as a little 5-year-old. Um,
Oh,
it
wait,
was
they
it
had
was great,
pictures.
and like
That's right.
yeah, yeah,
Disneyland
they
had
printed your
pictures. Yeah,
picture on the pass, yeah,
that's
and
awesome.
and like beautiful art on the back. I've still got it somewhere, but we had passes a lot when I was growing up, and
Mhm.
my parents were both in the industry, so I spent a lot of time on
Oh.
location with my mom, and
Mhm.
whenever we would come home, it's like, okay, we're going to be home, we're going to be on the road for like 6 weeks or something, and then we come home. First thing we do is go to Disneyland, and then we do it again like in the
Oh.
middle of the trip, and then we do it once before we leave to go back on the next shoot. And so it was always like, to me it was like, Disneyland and home are synonymous, and it created
Mm.
that complex in my brain that I still carry today, where I'm just not happy unless I'm there.
Yes. Well, I would call it a bond, maybe not a complex, but
A bond,
it's a
a
complex
bond,
that
a
we all have,
complex. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly. We have a we honestly, I say in this house, born Disney, grow up Disney. We're all
Hmm.
that Disney family. But I know that there's also Universal out there. So when you got older,
Hmm.
did you enjoy that more than you did Disneyland or California Adventure?
Never,
Okay.
never. I love Universal. Don't get me wrong. I love Universal.
Mhm.
And if I had to pick somewhere I wanted to work right now, it would be Universal because I would love to do the studio tour as an
Oh,
adult.
okay.
But I
Mhm.
like that would be cool. That would just be a fun time to do the studio tour, to drive
Mhm.
around and have a captive audience of 4 cars of people who aren't allowed to leave and need to listen to all my fun trivia no matter what. Like that. And the
Yes.
Warner Brothers tour is 3.5 hours. So I would like to do that one
Oh,
too. Um,
I've done that.
it's
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 awesome.
great. It's
Mhm.
amazing, and they have all these different variations, and those guys are just like, no one's watching you. There's no
No.
microphone, there's no quality assurance.
Mm-mm.
It's just you and a guy who talks about whatever he wants to talk about for 3.5 hours, and it's fantastic.
True.
Um,
It is
so as an
fantastic, and
adult,
you're walking through all these historical sets and things, which is awesome. Okay,
yeah,
I would go
and
out from Warner
and
Brothers, but
like so
I
that's
agree.
but like Warner Brothers and Universal as an adult, I'm like, when I was 5, I wasn't as starstruck of like, that's the house from the Shootist. That was Jimmy Stewart's house. Like that
Right.
wasn't a cool thing
Right.
when I was 5. So Disneyland was it. But As I
Mhm.
grew up, I did enjoy the other two a lot, but never more than Disneyland. Disneyland has always been
Mhm.
the first love, the great love, and I think it's also because
Aw.
um, it's just objectively the best theme park, like the best made, the best guest flow, the best offerings, the best food, other than maybe Knott's. It's the best food. It's like it's so well done and curated. Like I said, like it's got everything it needs in that small space. Whereas Universal is kind of only a half a day, and I don't really need some of the stuff that's there. Like they had a Blues Brothers show, and it's like, why? There's stuff that kind of doesn't make sense that they just shoved in for some reason at every other place.
Mhm.
Disneyland feels
Yeah.
very particular of if it's not great, it's pulled and it's replaced. And I
Yes.
love that.
Yes. Yeah, it is very curated. I love that word because that is exactly what Walt did. He had a vision, and you can really see his hand in everything there, as opposed to Disney
Yeah.
World. Now, of course, I grew up Disney World, so of course I'm going to say that my bond is there, and of course
Yeah.
that's where I was a cast member. But it's so much grander, it's so much larger, and yes, there it doesn't have that cozy feel. I don't even know how to describe it, but
Yeah.
when we went there a couple years ago, we did the Waltz tour, the of his apartment.
Oh, the walk in Walt's
Um,
footsteps. Yeah.
that's it. Fantastic. We had the best cast member explaining everything. He took us down to what's the ice cream parlor? But he showed us the
Oh, the
actual
Gibson girl.
bulbs. Yes, and did you
Yeah.
see that how the bulbs are
The half
alternating
and
red and
half.
white until you get to the yes, and he was like,
Yeah.
they had to cut it here, and so then they, created this one little alcove thing for it to it was just phenomenal. I can't even get into all the
Yeah.
detail, but it was a great tour, and yes, you do have that sense of it's more like a family, I'm going to say, but not just the atmosphere for families to come, but the people that work there. It feels more like they're closer knit or something, and they have that history there.
Yeah. And that's, I think, so we had like, uh, when I was working there or immediately afterwards, there were some issues that we heard about with Disney World cast members, like having cliques or
Mhm.
almost gangs where they were like bullying each other and everything.
Oh
And at
gosh.
Disneyland, yeah, and like we were all shocked about that. And we got the company wide announcement and all this stuff of like, we're all cast members and we all get along. And at Disneyland, we were like, well, yeah, like we're all getting paid to play at Disneyland. Why would we be upset about this? And like the closest thing we had was if you worked on the west side of the park, you parked on the east side of the parking lot and vice versa. So like
No.
when you get there and then
West
the bus
side. No,
goes
just kidding.
around, right? So
Yeah.
one time I parked on the wrong side of the parking lot and I was with all my friends and they were like, "No, no, sit down. You're sitting with us until we get to the east side of the parking lot. This is where we park."
Aw.
They made me walk all the way back across. But like it's things like that where it's like, "No, this is our neighborhood and that's it." But no one ever
Mhm.
really enforced it other than, polite ribbing and messing around. Like it
Yes.
was very pleasant
Mhm.
and there was always drama for, it's a bunch of 20 somethings forced together to on a playground. There's going to be drama, but it's
Yes.
not like in the same way that we were hearing about. And I've remembered
Mhm.
that for years because I feel like there is that kind of almost territorialness in Florida
Mm.
with cast members, with bloggers, with a lot of different things. There's a lot of like not playful animosity. Whereas
Mm.
out here, like when you see somebody who's like your biggest rival, your biggest competition, it's like, ah, here comes trouble, and that's where it stops. Like it was all very polite and very civil while I was
Mhm.
there.
Well, and that's funny that you say that too, because I have heard that it's very difficult to get into the entertainment side of things out at Disneyland as opposed to Disney World because everybody's in entertainment. You said your parents were
Yeah.
in the business, everyone wants
Hmm.
to break in and be a movie star and be discovered.
Yep.
So I can see how
Yep.
that would have a little bit of, rivalry or animosity between people.
Yeah. Yeah, possibly. I mean, I knew a lot of the girls in the parades and stuff because we all hung out
Mhm.
backstage together, and like it was a little cliquish just because we didn't know each other. But if you go up and introduce yourself, everybody was pretty nice and open, and I didn't, at least for my part, I was only there for 9 months or so, but I didn't see a whole lot of negativity. And then I was in the cast member circuit for years after that with all my friends. Even if I
You
wasn't
were,
working there,
yeah.
I still went to all the same stuff and the
Mhm.
parties and all that. So, and everybody got along. But I was also hanging out with a bunch of Jungle Cruise skippers, and nobody's upset when you're hanging out with Jungle Cruise skippers. So like I think that could have thrown the things of like,
Yes.
hey, they're here, all right, and like it was always pleasant having us around. So
It was always
we
a
were the cool
punny
kids.
time. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, it was. We
Okay.
were always the funniest people in the room.
I can believe that. So you say, okay, you worked there for 9 months. Was this after high school? Was it during high school
Yeah,
or college?
it
When
was
when did you
immediately
join?
after high school. It was
Okay.
immediately after high school. It was my first job out of high school, my first paid job,
Mhm.
um, that I ever had, and much to the chagrin of my family, because I lived in a town, a little tiny town north of Glendale. So it was like a 45-minute drive without traffic to get there. And of course,
Wow.
I was always scheduled right at like 4:30, so I'd have to leave at 2 o'clock to get there.
Mhm.
Um, and so, by the time, the reason I left wasn't because of any problems or whatever. It was just the drive. It was too far, but I didn't care. I wanted to go. So literally the week after I graduated high school, like my first week of summer vacation, it was me and a friend from high school went down there and applied and did the personality test, and I passed and she didn't somehow, because she was like
Oh.
a real life Disney princess. She's the sweetest person I've ever
Oh.
met in my life. And I was like, you're going to
Mhm.
pad the numbers for me. You're going to be good, and they're going to take both of us because you're so good. And then
Yeah.
she didn't pass the test and I did. So they hired me, and
Gosh.
they let me like pick where I wanted to work. And apparently nobody wanted Jungle Cruise. So they were like, absolutely, when could you start? So I jumped in right away.
Why would you not want Jungle Cruise? That's what I'm saying.
It's
That's
tough.
a fun gig. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
but
talk
it's
to me
tough.
about
It's a
that.
lot of work.
So that I mean,
It's
when
you
I go
gotta.
back to the history of it, it was very scripted initially, and it was more serious, right?
Yes,
Because it was supposed to be
yes.
more about the cruising down the different jungle rivers.
Yeah, it started out as a ride that was supposed to be like you're stepping into one of the true life adventure films.
Hmm.
And so it was very serious, and like on the album Walt Disney Takes You to Disneyland, you can hear Thurl Ravenscroft do parts of the original
Oh,
script, and
cool.
it's fun and maybe a little tongue in cheek at points of like, oh, there's the crocodile, old Smiley, and like stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it was never really like scripted and showy and fun. It was just like, here, I'm telling you what you're looking at. And then
Mm.
over time, it's a bunch of college kids, so of course they're going to mess around.
Yes.
And they just started going further and further. The script is called the OG, the operating guidelines. And so they kept
Okay.
going further and further off the OG and playing around with it. And even when I was there, like it had finally been accepted in the OG of like you have 3 or 4 different iterations of jokes
Hmm.
that you're allowed to
Okay.
say, because that's what they came up with. They had a bunch of people write them, and they brought in, I think,
Mm.
Mark Davis or Marty Sklar, someone, one of the
Yes.
old guys, was brought
Yeah.
in
Mark
to
Davis.
like punch it up and allow them to
Hmm.
like, hey, what kind of gags do you want to do for the script now on top of the visuals? Um,
Hmm.
so they had like an original OG, and it kept evolving over time, because as a skipper, you could submit, here's a funny line I came up with. They would take it under review, and if it was okay,
Oh,
they would put it in the script. Yeah, so we were
that's
joke
cool.
writing the whole time too. Yeah. The problem is you weren't
Hmm.
allowed to try it out before it was officially accepted into the OG. So at
Okay.
18, being the responsible 18-year-old I was, of course I did all my own material. I was doing entire entire cruises where not one joke was out of the script. Every single thing was either crowd
Wow.
work, off the cuff, stuff I had come up with, stuff I was workshopping with my friends. It was a stand-up comedy school. And
Yes.
it was the most fun I think I've ever had or will ever have as a job. Like I
Mhm.
can't fathom that they paid us to do this. It was the most fun anyone can have. And then, of course, if you get caught saying a joke that's your own before it was approved, you get in trouble, you get a
Mhm.
write up and all that. but there's like a group of the skippers that kind of watch out for each other, of like, we all know what's up and we all know we're going to go
Nice.
off script. So we watch out for each other. So if we're going to get a mystery guest, or if one of the managers sneaks on the boat, we'll like signal each other to be like, yo, tone it down. Like, none of the
Ah,
Michael Jackson material. Let's be
smart.
quiet, Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like we but then we were all online. So we were sharing stuff back and forth, and there were skippers from way back
Okay.
when, and kids who wanted to be skippers soon, and everybody was on like the mice chat forums or on MySpace and
Okay.
stuff, because it was right when
MySpace.
MySpace was getting outmoded. And so we had all
Mhm.
transitioned over to Facebook. So when I got there, they
Okay.
were like, no, everyone's going to watch us on Facebook. We're all on MySpace still. So all the skippers went back to MySpace, and that's where we could talk a little more, because no one was on MySpace anymore. It was a dead
That's so
platform that we could
funny.
do whatever we wanted. So between that and Mice Chat, we were sharing things around, and there's a, a printout. I finally got a printout of it, but it was little bits and pieces we would find of this like forbidden handbook that was just a bunch of jokes that were like so far beyond funny, you can't even fathom,
Yeah.
but you can't say
Make you
them. Like
cry.
there's jokes. Oh,
No.
it like the Michael Jackson material came from
Mhm.
there. The second giraffe on the grassy knoll. Like there's a bunch of stuff that
Oh,
you
no.
cannot say because you'll get in so much trouble. But
Mhm.
oh man, was it funny. And so when we
So
would do
good.
these cast member nights, or like after
Mhm.
closing or something, we'd just take each other on cruises when all the managers didn't care anymore. Like they were tired. There's no guests, so we're not going to get in trouble. So we would just
Mhm.
go on cruises, and some of the guys would do like really dark, like George Carlin political cruises talking about all
Oh,
this stuff. And
no.
another guy did an entire cruise. It was at night. And so he was just making fun of like all the things that were broken at Disneyland at the time. So like the
Oh,
effects that weren't
dang.
working in Fantasmic that we all heard about over the radio, of like, hey guys, the dragon's not coming up right now. The dragon's not coming up right now. And so he would like do a cruise that no one would find funny unless you were working at the park at that time,
At that
which
moment.
now that I'm saying it
Mhm.
out loud doesn't sound that funny, but in the moment it's like, I mean, we were falling out of the boat because
Yeah.
the community of it, of the Brotherhood of the Jungle, like we clicked, man. It was so much fun working and playing with all of these guys, and it was always responsible. It was always, taking care of the guests and everything,
Mhm.
but on the side also having a lot of fun. And like
Oh, of course.
we had one guy, he did a bunch of stuff with like props and stuff, not in anything related to the cruise, but like when
Mhm.
you drop something in the water, the divers go in like once a week on Friday nights and scoop it all out and take it out, and they leave it with us in case anybody comes back and says, hey, I dropped my phone in here, my iPod, whatever, last week. And they would never come back for it because it's dead. It's been sitting on the bottom of the river in duck poop for a week, so it's done. So no one ever came back for it. So we learned
Mhm.
how to tamper with them and like fold down the flaps on an iPad or whatever. And so as you're sitting at the load station, this guy would come up, be like, hey Charlie, thank you for letting me borrow your iPod, and he'd throw it and it would go just a little shy and hit the dock and explode, and everyone would be like, oh. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? That's brand new.
Freak
And like,
everybody out.
it was a whole thing for the guests. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry about your
Oh.
iPod. And then you'd go and you'd do a very sad cruise, and we're all just dying because everyone thinks something horrible just happened. But you pull away from the dock, he puts it back together, and we do it for the next boat that pulls up, like
Oh,
all the
no.
time. We just to make ourselves laugh. and
Mhm.
and like the anytime we would have one of the ASL interpreters, it was always a
Yes.
competition to see. We would use the biggest words we can. I learned scientific names for almost every animal in the jungle, and the plants, the flowers, and the butterflies. There was one butterfly that had like four really long Latin names that she would have to spell out. So we would have a competition of how
So
long
mean.
the ASL interpreter would have to stand there and finish the cruise. How long does she stand on the dock? And at the end of the day, they'd all go down. Like the skipper hangout was at the Disneyland Hotel at the Loft Bar. So whoever got the longest ASL interpretation, like whoever stood on the dock the longest, got to drink for free that night. And like everyone would just go out and take care of them. I was too young to go and drink, so I never benefited from any of this. But still, we were just playing, and like
You probably won a few
touch
times,
the
I would
mullet
bet.
and stuff. It was it like, and I right before I worked there, I dated a girl who was an ASL interpreter. So I called her up and I was like, "Hey, what are the words that are hardest to do? How do I want to make
That's
this ridiculous?" And she was like, "Anything in Latin." And so because there's no words for it, so you have to spell it all out. So that's why I learned all the
genus and
Latin names.
species
Like,
names for everything, right?
yep, yep. And like nobody on the boat laughed except for the people who were watching the ASL interpreter. Like everybody else who was listening to
Oh,
what I was
no.
saying thought I was just a straight nerd. But the people who were there with the ASL interpreter and all the other skippers were like crying, watching this person sweating, going through it for like 7 minutes at the end on the dock. It
Oh,
was like,
I
it's
hope you
stuff like
tipped her.
that where it's, oh man, it was so great. It was the best job I ever had with a bunch of really great
Oh,
people. Everyone that I worked with was wonderful. Like, I have nothing but good things to say. I think this is the only job I ever had that I really loved everyone and everything about it, other than the drive.
oh,
The drive was the only thing that
yeah.
killed me.
Yeah, well, that would. I mean, that's a long time, especially with traffic, right? You've
Yeah.
got me crying. Like that's hilarious. That is so funny. So so with your jokes, you could just come up, like you
Mhm,
said, and submit the ones that you think would be great to add. Did you ever
mhm.
do stand-up comedy? Did Disney ever encourage you to do an improv class or something?
They never really encouraged it, but the Skippers have their own stand-up comedy show. We did Skipper stand-up, and it
No
was, I think,
way.
once a quarter or something like that. I went to
Hmm.
2 or 3 shows, but I only took part in one, and it
Okay.
was all Skippers. The only people who were allowed to perform were Skippers. Like, we did the sign-ups in the boathouse. So it was all stuff, like some of it was like just funny, stand-up material because everybody was a comedian anyway.
Hmm.
And like I was one of the
Hmm.
few guys who was not pursuing some sort of performance art. Like I was in school for archaeology.
Right.
So like it doesn't really matter
Yes.
to me. I was just doing it for fun. But there were a lot of people in choir, a lot of actors, a lot of comedians, and so a lot of people so much better than me. Like I'm happy to say that I was one of the weakest ones there, and like I was surrounded by these incredible comedians. So when we did Skipper stand up, and like I've got friends now who are stand-up comedians. I've done it since at other clubs and stuff, but I don't think I've ever laughed as hard as I did that day, because it was, not only was it like great stand-up comedians, but they were doing such specific niche comedy inside joke stuff that like
Yes.
no one else got but us for some of those sets. It was very specific to us. So it was great. But that's part of, like, we would work on our sets together, cuz like, oh, Skipper stand up is coming. What are we going to do? And so you're not just going to do the same style of jokes that you do on the river. You're going to do different
Mhm.
stuff. So we're workshopping that at the same time as we're workshopping, jokes for the ride,
Love
as
that.
everything else.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was a really
Mhm.
collaborative community.
Did you have a joke yourself that, like, hit hard that you knew that this I'm always gonna get a groan or a laugh or some kind of a, something reaction from the crowd?
Yeah. Yeah, I so my weakest point was, and still is, crowd work, like seeing someone and coming up with something on the
Mhm.
spot. And so somebody challenged me, if that's your weakest thing, that's what you should do. So I would do entire cruises where I don't really
Ooh,
reference anything that doesn't happen inside the boat. And one of the jokes I had
wow.
that like, you're going past the Pride Rock with the lions and stuff, and the
Yes.
joke in the guideline is something like, the lion or the zebra has learned the number one rule of the jungle, don't hang out with lions or something. It was really lame.
Mhm.
And but you hear that
Okay.
setup from all the other skippers. So I said he learned, the number one rule of the jungle: it's not safe to dress like a zebra. This guy knows what I'm talking about. And you find someone in black and white, and that usually
Oh,
got a big laugh, because then it's like, and
yes.
if they're sitting on the side
You're
next to the
pulling them into
lions,
it.
then you can, yeah, you
Yes.
can extend it a little further. So that was the one of the few
Mhm.
jokes that was my own, that I was like, this is safe. I did that on almost every
That's
cruise.
good.
Um,
Mhm.
just because I know it always hit. It wasn't my favorite joke, but I know it would always hit if there was somebody in black and white, or going past the
Mhm.
gorilla if someone was wearing yellow. is we got to,
Oh,
move out of here
yes.
because this guy decided to dress like a banana today, so now we're all in danger.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, and we move on really fast.
Yeah.
Anything where you can reference something like that would usually get a good
Mhm.
audience reaction.
Did you have a special scene or a favorite scene when you were going through it? This was probably obviously, it was before the changes, 2021
It was.
came, so
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
was
there
there
was
in
a lot to work with.
2007, 2008, 2000,
Okay.
2007, somewhere in there. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so it was way before the changes. Um, the scene with the rhino chasing the guys up the pole, I think was my
Yes.
favorite to go through because I had a lot of jokes, a lot of them that I probably shouldn't say, but I had a lot of variations for that scene. And it was always like, all right, how far can I push it with this group? Like, what am I going to get away with this time? Like,
Get
there's
the
a
point in
lot
the
of,
end.
yeah, and that's the safe one. But like,
Mhm.
if there were, kids on the boat, I had a joke about um, all these guys, and there's my buddy on the bottom, Emon, and he went out with him. I haven't heard from him. Oh my gosh, that rhino's trying to poke Emon, and like the three kids would laugh, and everybody else would
Oh,
groan. So like,
wait,
there's a
let's
lot
go.
of variations. Yeah, right. Like, and
That's
and
good.
the kids thought that was funny. So like, if you have a boat with like,
Yes.
6 or 7 kids, I would rather give them something that they can laugh at that their parents won't get. Um,
Mhm.
but there was a lot of stuff that you can play with in that scene. Like, there's so many things to pull out and point at. And I think now that they've redone the scene and
Mhm.
there's even more like stuff falling out of backpacks and more set deco and stuff,
Yes.
I think it would be even more fun now because all of it is more varied and more unique. And so now you have a lot more material to reference and pull on. And that's really what gets the best reactions is when you say something and everyone's like, what? And then they look and notice it for themselves. Now they have created the
Go,
joke in their own head.
"Oh."
And
Yes. Mhm.
I always liked that where you say it and then there's a moment of silence and then they start laughing. That was always the best. And that scene provided a lot of
Mhm.
that because there's so many things to look at and see in different ways of iterating about all the different guys at different levels on the pole and stuff like that. So that was probably my
That's a
favorite to
great
perform.
point. That's an excellent
Yeah.
point because it leads me into my next question. Was the backside of water section your worst? Because there's nothing to look at but the water coming down. And were the
That's
people that yell O2H like myself really annoying to you
mhm.
all the time?
No, no. I mean, because if anybody in the boat starts chanting like that, that's
Uh-huh.
material that you can work on. And that was I was trying to work that crowd material in. And so then you can turn if somebody's chanting O2H out of nowhere or saying other jokes that are off the guideline or off of the regular script that I'm not saying or something, you can always
Mhm.
pull that into your act. But this one also, I think it's just I liked it because it's iconic. It's the eighth wonder of the world. It's a
Yes.
wonderful, amazing, stupendous backside of water. Like, it's something we all kind of expect. We know where we're going, and if you know where you're going to wind up, any deviation in how you get there is going to be funny. So there's
Yes.
a lot of material you can pull out of that, but also it just like um it's iconic. I think that like having
Right.
that and the hippos wiggling their ears and stuff, there are these certain
Yes.
scenes that are like the most Jungle Cruisy scenes. Like people aren't really thinking about the piranha hallway as much as they are the
Mhm.
backside of water. Like they're not going to make
Yes.
a t-shirt out of like the gorilla trying to grab the gunpowder or whatever because
No.
this is the iconic thing. So it's like that beauty of like the 50 years or now 70 years Disney magic kind of stuff,
Mhm.
um, that is just beautiful, and you can respect that, and you can go sweet, or you can do something really crazy. If
Mhm.
it's nighttime and you flash the lights on and off, you have a giant water screen, just like Phantasmic. So there's a lot you can do with it.
That's good.
There's a lot of different things that you can play with there.
Were they still doing the pistol with the hippos? You're talking about the hippos wiggling their ears.
Hmm.
Were they still doing did you get to shoot at the hippos or in the air or anything
Yeah,
like that? The
yeah. Do
first
they
time I
not
rode that at
anymore?
Disney, not at Disney World. I don't know that they've
Oh
ever
no,
done it at
Disney
Disney
World doesn't.
World. Yeah.
No, they didn't. We're the only ones I think in the world who have actual
Mhm.
blanks, and
Yes.
to me,
It
that
scared me the first
smell,
time I wrote it. I didn't know that they did that.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's very loud, and that's also our
Mhm.
security system. So if something goes wrong,
Oh.
if you fire twice, that means you're in the
Mhm.
hippo pool. So if I hear, "Oh,
Okay.
I'm really close to the hippo pool," and the bang
Mm.
bang goes off, I have to slow down so I can pace myself because I don't want to drive into the scene with
I
another
did
boat
not
there.
know
So
that.
that's a two shot.
Wow.
If it's a one shot, it's somebody who doesn't know how to fire their pistol effectively, and so we make fun of him for going single shot. Um, and then if it's three shots, I think it's something's blocking the path, all boats hold. And if it's four
Ooh.
shots, it's a medical emergency. Everybody go back to the dock as quick as possible. So if you're
Wow.
prior to a certain point in the ride, you go forward, and if you're or you go backwards, and if you're after that point,
Okay.
you go forwards because it's the shortest way back. But it's a
Okay.
medical emergency, and we need to get someone off the boat. And I've seen both of those on multiple occasions of
Really?
three shot and four shot.
Mhm. Ooh, goodness. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, apart from seeing the sinking boats, I think it was at Disney World, actually, not Disneyland, right? That had the sinking boats a few
yeah,
years ago. Did you ever
yeah.
have any kind of a situation to that extent or to that degree, or something
Um,
that went wrong
no,
mechanically went wrong?
mechanically we would have things go wrong, and there was uh like the boats. I hate to destroy the Disney magic, but the boats are driven on rails,
I think we
and
know. That's okay.
yeah, I hope everyone would know, but we still spin the wheel and everything. We make it fun, but
Yes.
they are driven on rails, and if you depending on the way the water crests along the side of the riverbank, it can
Okay.
push the boat down. And then when it comes back to swell, it'll lift up. So if the bar is here,
Oh,
it'll go down and pull off and lift up, and then you can derail your boat. So there's two really dangerous
wow.
sections where you have to go at full speed to keep that tension on the rail. Because if you slow down
Okay.
and the water pushes back against you, you can derail, and the back of your boat will start drifting out. It could hit, and then you could go down.
Oh, no.
So yeah, I have derailed a boat. I mean, just about everybody I know has derailed a boat. It happens. No one has ever
Oh,
sunk that I know of at Disneyland like that.
right.
But we have derailed the boat. We had a tree fall down right in the path. That was one of the ones where we had a three shot because there was a boat
Uh,
right, or
mm,
a tree right in the path where you
mhm.
can't go through it. So we had to stop everything and get everybody off the ride, like go
Ooh.
backwards to get everybody off so that they could come out with the arborist and cut it down.
Mhm.
Um, and then throttle cable would snap, or snap while it's on, and then it would hit something, like just
Mhm.
basic mechanical failures. But the one that I think happened the most often was the hippos would eat ducks. And so like a
What?
duck, yeah,
Oh
the
my
hippos,
gosh.
a duck would swim by as it was going back down, the duck would
Oh,
get trapped. And then when it comes up, and you see it all, and the kids are upset, and then you're like, all right, we got to
I'd
shut
be
down. You got to go
upset.
clean
I'm
it out.
upset listening to it.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
good.
I mean, we have a lot of ducks and everything, and it's just
Mhm.
a numbers game of like, you're going to get too close to one of them at some point. And I've seen it happen
Yeah.
a couple of times. So that
Mm.
I think would happen more often than anything else other than derailing. Derailing happened,
Yeah.
I think, the most. Still not frequently, but more frequently than ducks being eaten.
That's a funny sentence to say, but
Yeah,
in this context, it totally makes sense. You're talking about the arborist
yeah,
to come out. That is an actual jungle. I have heard this
hmm,
that they because they brought in so many plants and they different species of plants and they actually cross-pollinated and created new species of plants out there, and the canopy has
hmm,
grown so large over the years that it is a true jungle now. So you were
yeah,
literally in the jungle. How
yeah.
do they get
It's
back
really
there to
dense.
help cut down and clear out, like you're talking about whenever there is a blockage? Do they have pathways? Are
So
there roads?
we do have
Okay.
pathways. There's different points you can enter from. You can come in from the Indiana Jones side. You can come in from the railroad side. You can come in
Mhm.
from backstage behind Main Street. There's a bunch of different roads and hidden ladders and stuff that they have
Ah,
access to. And when I was in training, they took us out there so that we got to go like walk next to Schweitzer Falls and stuff, just to see like, here's what it is and
Ooh.
here's your escape route if you ever need it, kind of a thing.
Okay.
So they do have that, but they also have a skiff. They have a little boat that they would take out. And so like when the tree went down
Oh yeah.
across the waterway, they would take the little boat out there and just pull it up to the side. It was not on a guide rail. It's just a little putt-putt. And so then they
Mhm.
would go and chop it from there and then use that and just kind of drag it out of the ride. So
Okay.
there's, I mean, any which way they want to get to it. There's a lot. It looks really dense and it feels really dense, but
Yeah.
there's ways to get to everything from back from the behind.
It's fascinating that they were able to create that ecosystem just by saying, like, "We're gonna do animatronics in the water and have fake
Yeah,
animals around," and you're actually in a jungle for real.
yeah,
So, speaking
yeah.
of, though, and the route that you're talking about, there's certain areas that turn and you have to, make sure you have a full throttle on and everything. They to my knowledge, they had to cut back on some of the routes so that they could add your second job out at Disneyland, the Indiana Jones ride, correct?
hmm Yeah, I think because and when they first pitched the Indiana Jones ride, they wanted to have a place where you would get on the Indiana Jones ride queue
Mhm.
in the back of Jungle Cruise. So you'd go through half the ride and get off the
Oh.
boat, and then that would be your
Oh.
entryway into the thing. That was the original concept that I had
That's
heard
pretty
that
cool.
Tony Baxter pitched. Yeah, and
Okay.
like I think that would be a fun like little additive thing, but at the same time, I feel like
Mhm.
that would probably kill the Jungle Cruise. At this
Yes.
point, you're only taking it to get to Indiana Jones, but you're probably
Mhm.
also not going to go on Indiana Jones because I don't necessarily want to take a boat to get there. I think it'd be cool and immersive, but I don't
Yeah.
think it would work for either ride. So I understand why they didn't do it, but they did have to change the layout of the river a little bit and cut
Okay.
into the side. But we got some extra added scenes, I think, or set
Oh,
decoration or something because of it. I don't remember
that's
anything
good.
of going on it. I mean, I went on it before Indiana Jones, but I was so young, I don't
Okay.
really remember the differences. I wasn't really paying attention to it much. Um,
Yeah.
so my entire life that I remember has always had Indiana Jones, but I've seen pictures and stuff.
Mhm. Well, you mentioned on the other show that we did, the Park Adventurers Club Sunday show. Obviously, that
Mhm.
was about dinosaur going away, and we talked about your career as a paleontologist. So, why did you come into working at Disneyland and you're like Jungle Cruise, not Indy?
Um, Indie to me is just pushing buttons, like it's a
Okay.
write off. You're still part of the magic and everything. I don't want to
Mhm.
diminish any of the people who work on attractions pushing buttons and stuff, but
Right.
like in my mind, the glory always was Jungle Cruise. Like that's to
Mhm.
I'm shocked that people didn't want to work on it more. Like it was easy to get in because people don't want to get into it because it's a lot of work. It's very tough. And even though
Yes.
you're not steering, you're managing the boat and all that, of the speed, and you have to be aware of derail zones. You're performing the whole time. You're always on. And
Mhm.
if
That's
you're
it.
tired or whatever, the skippers are just going to mercilessly berate you into laughing. So like you never
Yes.
get a time where you're just there at work to be quiet and stuff. You can't have an off day because everyone's like, "Hey man, what's going on? How you doing? Why aren't you doing this?" And like everyone's trying to make you laugh and engage with you because everyone else is having a good time. And they want you to hang out,
Mhm.
Um, so it's a lot, and they put people there, I think, to weed out the weak. So it's one of the two places
Oh.
in the park where they traditionally would onboard people, because if you can't hack it at Jungle Cruise,
Uh,
then you're not one of the best of. So they would put you there for a little
wow.
while to make sure you can handle pressure and all that kind of thing,
Okay.
and then they would transfer you out to the other parts of the park. Um,
Tricky,
and then
tricky.
there's yeah, right? Like it's I
Mhm.
get it, but then there's also the crazy people who don't want to leave. And
Yeah.
like there are people who have been there for 30 years and are just
Mhm.
fun, and those are the people that I want to hang out with. I wasn't there to
Yes.
get transferred out to trains or something. I was there to do Jungle Cruise.
Yeah.
And when they cross trained me to Indiana Jones, Jungle went down for a rehab for 3 months. So they cross trained me to Indiana
Oh,
Jones, and I was
that's
like, I
how
don't want to do
okay.
this. Yeah, I did
Oh,
not want to
really?
go.
Oh,
I don't want to
wow.
be on Indiana Jones. I do not care. I'm
Mhm.
not working at Disneyland because I want to be an attraction operator. I'm working at Jungle Cruise, which happens to be located in
Yes.
Disneyland. Like it was very different to me. And I like
Love
I'm
that.
glad I did. It was a fun experience to like have full access to that ride and play around.
Mhm.
There were a bunch of other skippers who were cross trained there as well, so we all had a good time together. But it never was the same, and like everybody knew it. So on my last day when I finally did quit, uh, the lead of Indiana Jones hooked up with the lead of Jungle Cruise, and they were like, "Hey, you get to go on your lunch break. You get to go take a last cruise." So I got to go over there, and my
Oh.
family was there, and like they had planned this whole surprise for me, and I got to take my
Oh
last
my
cruise on Jungle
goodness.
Cruise on my last day, and like that's one of my favorite memories is because I was so upset there. Like the tradition of the last cruise for a skipper is like all your friends and everybody's there. And so I had
Oh.
a couple of the skips who went with me, and like my trainer, who's still a friend of mine, went, and my family was there, and like they planned this for me. So I got to go and do my last cruise. I did all the jokes that would have gotten me fired, everything that I still wanted to do, and
Yeah.
then pulled back in, and I finished out my shift, and that was it.
That is what I'm talking about being a family. That is what I'm talking
Yeah,
about. That camaraderie, that feeling of friendship and family. I just love that. That is amazing. You
yeah, it
you
was
didn't
great.
probably have that exact you probably didn't have that exact feeling on Indy, but Indy's a cool ride. I think you and I talked about this
It
before.
was.
I want to say it's one of the best rides, if not the best, at Disneyland.
Yeah, it's really, I love that ride, and even, as a ride, I think it is probably the most fun at Disneyland, maybe until, Rise of Resistance came in. Like, it's technologically
Ooh, yeah.
advanced, it's super fun, it's, just and of course, I was in school for archaeology at the time, so, like, it was
Ah,
everything to me, and,
yeah.
like, I really I liked being there, but for, like, different reasons. It was
Mhm.
that was more to me, that was more Disneyland of like, I'm a cast member and I'm Disneyland life and whatever,
Mm,
because at the end of the shift, you're not bone tired. It's
yeah.
like at the end of Jungle Cruise, I don't know how they all went out to the Lost Bar. I could not have gone anywhere at the end of, hopefully 6 or 8 hour shift if you can get it, and then performing the whole time and climbing in and out of the boat, all that, you're just tired. Indiana
It's
Jones,
a lot.
when you're done, you're like, this was fun. Let's go hang out, and it was
Yeah.
more of, I think, a Disneyland experience versus Jungle was a Jungle Cruise experience. It was a little bit different.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Indiana Jones was a lot of fun, and like being able, we had to walk the track whenever I had to close. We'd have to walk the track at the end of the day,
Okay.
and so walking through those sets with the house lights on and just seeing the animatronics and like being able to do all that not in show conditions, that was cool. That was probably my
Oh,
favorite part, and
yes.
especially with the other skippers, because there's a place where just by walking too close to it, you can trigger the snake to attack. Um, and of course, you don't
You
know it
got him.
the first time, and so I got
Yes.
got. I got. It got. He
Oh,
was like, "Hey, hey, hey! There's something." And I mean, I was on the ground. I laid down on the ground, and so then
oh no.
after that, every time I was like, "Who's the newest person? Who's the newest person? Come here. We're doing a track walk. Come with me." And
Yeah.
so like four of us would go on a track walk where it only really takes two, and four of us would
Mhm.
go and be like, go over there. I think somebody tried. Is that a hat? I think that's a hat. Did someone drop money? Go
Go get
look.
that.
And they go, and the snake would go off, and every time, it like there was never a time where it wasn't funny. It was great.
That's
So
so
we
good.
still had fun. There was still a lot of fun to be had. It was just kind of a little bit different. It was more like moments as opposed to like all day.
Yes, absolutely. And so when you would you ever open the ride in the morning, or was it more like you were on the
Yeah,
closing shift? You would
yeah.
open it too.
I
Do you get to do that in
I
the morning as
volunteered to
well? Do
do
you
the
ride it
closing
through?
shift. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
several times throughout the day, you do an animation check. And I always
Oh.
volunteered to do that because it didn't make me sick, and I had a great time. I'm never going to turn down an animation check, and I would do that.
Oh.
On Jungle Cruise, you're doing it every time you're on there. Like you have to check all the figures, but like that one in particular,
Is this you
that
checking a
this
figure?
this is no, this is after close, taking a photo. This is like right before I quit because I was like, what are they going to do? Fire me? And so I took all the photos I wanted to take. Um, but this one we
You
had
get
to
hit by the
check
boulder,
several
that's what you do.
times. Yeah, right? It's the danger in that scene is that Indiana Jones animatronic has had I hear they've fixed it since, but he had
Okay.
a faulty neck joint similar to Murphy the Dragon
Oh,
in
oh
Phantasmic,
no.
where the head detaches
Oh
because
no.
it's weight based, right? It would hold it. So Indy goes and he
Uh,
like wipes the sweat from his brow, and if the calibration is
mhm.
off just a little bit and he actually touches his head, it takes the weight off for just a second and he slips down and it like then he's like this with just a hat
Oh no.
sitting on his neck stump and you have to go and like
No.
I saw it once or twice and they're like, okay, so we have a dedicated maintenance guy in the back and they come out and it takes
Okay.
them all of 10-20 minutes to fix it, but it's just part of what it
Mhm.
was. um,
Yeah.
because that's how they built the animatronics at the time. I know I've heard that they since fixed it, but yeah,
Okay.
and that's one of the hidden Mickeys. His name is Bones, and
That's
like
great.
I did all the photos that I wasn't supposed to do like right before I quit. Um, it
I
was
mean,
it
you
was
got
really
to, right?
nice. Yeah, yeah. So now I've got them in posterity. But
And
like it
you
was,
actually did become
mhm.
a paleontology,
Yeah,
studying archaeology. Let's became a
yeah,
biologist.
yeah. I got a
But you
degree in
also worked.
archaeology.
Mhm.
Uh huh. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say you also worked at another Adventureland attraction. You were Adventureland total. Oh, I guess that was all
Yeah,
that was over there at the time, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Or
I
Pirates?
did. So it was well. That's New Orleans Square. So I did
That's
everything in
true. I'm
Adventureland.
thinking well, Disney
Because
World.
there's
Yeah.
2 ride tracks. So when you're on one attraction or when you're working an attraction, you have a secondary attraction that you cover with it, a B attraction.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
the A track attraction for me was Jungle and the B track was Tiki Room. So every once in a while they'd cycle you out, put you over at Tiki Room and you'd wake up
Mhm.
Jose and all that stuff. And then the B track for Indiana Jones was the Tarzan Treehouse. And so you'd
Ah,
go and just
yes.
do a check on Tarzan Treehouse, make sure everything is put together. Yeah, there's working on Tiki Room.
Tiki Room.
Um, yeah, and I really regret not keeping that Aloha shirt. I really should have kept all the costumes. I'll pay the fines. I should have kept it. Um,
Rob kept a belt.
and really, that
Yes.
I had a Phantasmic jacket that I didn't know I had. Like I didn't keep it. I turned everything in. I was being honest.
Mhm.
And I had a
Yes.
Phantasmic jacket because when I first hired in, they were like, "You're going to work parades, and you wear your
Oh,
indie costume for parades because everybody they cycle a few people out to do guest control, um,
right.
and so people from each of the lands have to work in front of their land. So I do the Adventureland arm of the guest control for parades and fireworks.
Oh, that's nice.
And they said, you're going to be doing that and you're going to be doing Phantasmic. So go and get the costumes for both of these so that if we need to swap you out on the day, you can just go straight there. So I got a costume for Phantasmic and I got a costume for Indy while I was on Jungle Cruise. And then I did parades all the
Oh,
time, but they never once called me for Phantasmic. So I completely forgot about it until like 4 or 5 years later. I was going through my closet and I was like, hey, why do I even have this? I literally never put it on. And so I took it
wow.
back to Disneyland and they
Oh,
were
how
like, "We
nice
see
of
you
you.
still haven't." Yeah, well, I was going back to I wanted to go work at the company again. I was like, I got some time. School was slowing down and I don't care. I'll
Yeah.
make the drive. I just miss it. I want to go back to Jungle. So they said,
Oh,
"Yeah, we can bring you back. We see you have an outstanding costume and as soon as you get that cleared up, we can get you in." And I was like, "It's funny you should mention that. I had no idea I had an outstanding costume. I had it in my bag." And I was like, "Here it is.
mhm.
It's a jacket and
You were
pants and a
like, "Bam,
black shirt."
bam."
Yeah, I was like, "There you
Here it
go." And they were
is.
like, "Cool. So we're actually not hiring at this time, but thank you for the costume back."
Oh, come
And like,
on.
yeah, so I gave it
Come
up
on.
and like I probably would have given it to them anyway because they need to have it
Yeah.
at the other cast members need it. But I should have just paid the fine for that one and the
Mm,
tiki room and all the other stuff. Like I should have just kept it, just as a memento
yeah.
to have.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's
it's
it's nice to have.
I was all over Adventureland. I was everywhere.
Well, what about your time at the treehouse? Because I know that, it's not the most exciting of attractions, I will say,
It
but
is
it is
not.
I mean, the original is one of the it was Swiss Family Robinson, and
Hmm.
now it's something completely different with, C,
The
right?
Adventureland
Side of
Treehouse.
Adventures. Yes, the Adventureland
Yeah,
Treehouse.
it kind
And,
of. It's very similar to what they did with Swiss Family Robinson. Like it's a nice
ex
homage. It's very,
exactly. It is a
very
nice
sweet.
homage. I like it. So
Yeah.
so this Tarzan treehouse was kind of in between the 2. What did you
Hmm.
think of that?
It was fine. I don't really like. I
You're
kind
like,
of feel
"No."
the same way about the movie Tarzan. It was fine. It was what they were doing in '98, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like it was
Mhm.
cute, and I'm sure like I was not a child, and I did not yet have a child, so I
Mhm.
genuinely did not think about it as a guest. It was a
Oh.
non-issue for me as a guest because like once I had a kid, it became this is the only place I can run around that doesn't require a raft to get to. This is everything.
Right.
Um, once I had a kid, but when I was just a,
Mhm.
a childless adult, nursing my daily hangover, I did not want to go climb around a tree house like I'm a college kid. I don't want to do this. I would like I'll go play with my friends at Jungle Cruise, and then I'd like to please sit
Mhm.
down and go home. Like I don't that it's not my idea of fun, but we had to do it. I walked through it,
Yes.
once a shift. And also I was especially on when I was doing jungle or whatever it was, whenever I had to do it and I was working with some of these guys who were a little bit older and like, all right, it's
Mhm.
their turn, like I'll take it for you. I don't mind. It's easier for me
Aw.
to do it at, 19 or whatever, 18.
Mhm.
It's easier for me to go and do it. So I'll take your walk for you. So I would volunteer for it a lot
That's
just
nice
so
of
that
you.
these other guys didn't have to. So I
Yeah.
did it quite a bit. I did it a lot. And you just kind of it's memorization by rote.
Mhm.
Every turn, all the little things that the guests like to break, where they hide things. Um, just a lot of little eccentricities with that place where it's like people think they can get away with things there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, what you when you say hide things, is it trash mainly, or what do they hide?
Yeah, trash or like the jaguar scene up at the top.
Mhm.
There was a little place where if you get too close, it triggers a little IR thing and it roars and it shoots a little blast of air at you. There was like this little ledge part of the roof, whatever, under the reeds where the air jet comes out of, and if you can get to that,
Mm,
you can like it's close enough to spray you in the forehead when you get close. So people would like
okay.
crumble things up and like put it right in front of there, like stuff it right in front of the shooter thing, and then they just stand off to the side like nothing. And so if I see two
Right.
teenagers who are
Sure.
like just waiting, and I'd come up and I'm like, "I
Loitering.
know what's gonna happen." So you trigger it, and then it sprays like they crumbled up Fritos or something and put it right in there. And so you go and trigger it, and it sprays everywhere. They're like, "Oh, man, come on." And like, I know what you're doing. I'm not that much older than you. Come on.
Exactly. I think like you sometimes. I know what you're
Yeah,
up
like,
to.
don't it's not even that "Oh, I got Fritos on me. Ah," like, it's not the end of the world. Why are we doing this? But, like, I went through that
Oh,
thing so many times.
that's just it's,
Yeah.
teenagers will be teenagers, I will say.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but yes, I
That's just
do
what it
agree
is.
with you. I feel like, the Tarzan, it was in conjunction, or I guess it was after the movie came out, but it was still, to promote obviously IP,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And we do like, and Swiss Family Robinson's IP, right? But I feel like
Yeah.
it was a little more traditional and a little bit more immersive in the sense that you could see yourself there versus just walking through and seeing like Tarzan in the crib or
Yeah,
whatever,
like
like see the
replaying the
characters.
movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was I think the Swiss Family Robinson, like, people don't like it was a book and then it was a movie, and I don't think a lot of people have read or seen that, as many people
Sad.
have read or seen that as have gone to Disneyland and seen it there, and it's supposed to be just an exploration of, like, this is the place from the movie, and you go
Yeah.
through as opposed to retelling, the movie. There was
Mhm.
no vignettes or anything. It was just like, oh, that's a cool little thing. And I think that's what
Mhm.
they returned it to, is just like, this is our house. It's cute, and here you go. And
Mhm.
like, we don't
Yeah.
need to see Tarzan.
No. No, I
Yeah.
loved it. We went, last year, well, it was 2024, so it was September
Hmm.
24, and I loved it. I loved walking through and seeing all the little vignettes like you're talking about, and it described the father and the daughter and what she's into,
Yeah.
astronomy and this kind of stuff. It was really well done. So, and then
Yeah.
it
It's
had its
cute.
sea references, Society for
Yeah, a
Adventurers and
little bit.
Explorers and everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
Anytime
that
we
was
can get
good.
a little bit of sea in Disneyland, I feel like we really missed the boat. There's so much of that in Florida, and it's
Yes.
so cool, and we don't get hardly anything, and every time they try to add a little something, people are like, "I don't know what this is," so they just don't add any more, and, like,
They're not impressed.
if you would yeah, like, if you give us a whole bunch, we
Mhm.
will know what it is, like, you gotta really do a Flor like, in Florida, cram it down everyone's throats, put it on everything, and if you're just gonna hide, like, one little thing in the back of Frontierland, it's like, alright, not a lot of people are gonna know about that.
Yeah, yeah, unless you go seek it out to look for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were there 9 months, and like you said,
Mm,
you were driving back and forth, and you're going, "Okay, this is too far." So you ended up quitting, but you wanted to come back.
mhm.
Did you ever get a position again with Disney?
No. No, I never worked
Okay,
directly for Disney again. I've worked for other places in the Disney, orbit, but I've never worked for the Disney company again.
okay.
Not that
Was
I
that
wouldn't go back, but,
Yeah.
not right now.
Well, like you said, I know you've mentioned that you were a photographer and that you love,
Mhm.
doing that art, that style of art. So do you ever get to
Yeah,
the parks now with your family and your son and get to do
yeah.
shoots and that kind of thing?
Yeah, not as much as I'd like to, not as much as I used to. Uh, During the pandemic and as everything was reopening, I worked for a place that covered Disneyland quite a bit. So I was there once or twice a week, and I was doing food review videos and had the Instagram stuff, and I was there all the time, and I did a lot of really good work with shooting that park. I did some of my best work
Mhm,
as a photographer in that park, just
mhm,
because I was there all the time, and I always had my camera with me every single time, and I was alone. I wasn't worrying about anybody else if they were enjoying their day. I was there to shoot, and that was
mm,
great. But I did it so much where I started redoing the same photos, and that's when I knew it
mm,
was almost time to move on. It's like, oh, I've already shot this.
yeah,
It's a great photo, but I've already shot it, and I liked it the last time. I think it might be played out, so I took a little bit of a break, and like I dropped my magic key. I didn't go so much, and now I go to Universal without my
mm,
camera just because. But then every once in a while, I still get that itch of like, oh, this is something I haven't seen yet. This is something that's
mhm,
new. This is a new angle, a new challenge, something like that. Where it's like, okay, I now I
mhm.
want to go back and reshoot that. Um, but for the
Yeah,
most part, I just went off and started shooting other things. I went into I've always loved landscapes. That was my first love, but there's no money in it, so I do that as often as I can. Um,
mhm.
but I've just been doing a lot of modeling work, modeling and food photography and uh, portraiture, burlesque, stuff like that.
Do you have a favorite thing that to shoot at Disneyland? Like, you're talking about landscapes. Is there a specific
Hmm.
spot, or are you a castle guy? Are you
Oh,
like, what do you go to? Do you
yeah.
like to photograph their cupcakes? I don't know.
Um,
What do you like to
I
photograph?
did. I did a lot at Avengers Campus. Avengers
Oh,
Campus,
okay.
because if you can catch, like, there are so many different elements, and like the part of the complaints that I hear about um, Star Wars Land is that nothing moves.
Mhm.
There's no multi elements. Like
Yes.
Tomorrowland is a city on the move. So you have the sky buckets up top, and then you have the monorail in the middle, and then you have the subs down below, and the Matterhorn in the
Mm,
distance. Like there's so much movement and life, and the people mover, and the
yeah.
astro orbiter, and all this stuff. It feels so alive. And
Mhm.
um, in and like New Orleans Square too, they do character greetings from the upper levels, and there's all the
Yes.
decorations blowing in the wind. There's so many levels of things, and I feel like Avengers Campus really took that note where Star Wars Land did not. Everything with Star Wars Land is kind of a one note beige song, like graphically, like what you're looking at. It's a beautiful land. I love it, but it's
Mhm.
all kind of beige. It's all, everything is happening on one level. There's not a lot to look at because
Yeah.
it's like a stick poking up, like it's the spire. Avengers Campus has
Yeah.
so many levels and so much movement and so much going on, and it feels immersive and alive. And everywhere you look, there's a character or something happening. So I shot there the most, I think, because um, trying to get all these elements up and down to pose
Mhm.
all at the same time was a real challenge. But when it comes off,
Challenge.
it's just mwah. It's a
Yeah.
challenge to time it all right. Like if you can get,
Mhm.
Thor and Loki greeting down here, and then
Oh,
like a kid dressed as somebody meeting them on the lower level, and then you have
yeah.
that. Then you have the Doctor Strange Caecilius prison glowing behind that, and then if you get Spider-Man,
Mhm.
at the beginning of his show, he's like leaning out over
At
the
the top.
wall, like saying
Yeah.
hi to everybody over the ride entrance. If you can get all of that in
Wow.
one shot, it's like, right, like even just describing it, you're like,
Mhm.
that's great. And
That's
every
great,
once in a
yeah.
while, just by chance, you would get something like that. And that,
Mm.
to me, that was challenging, but like super fun to shoot because there's so much going on. So I think I've probably shot Avengers Campus more than anywhere else, even more than the castle. Uh, was Avengers Campus.
I love that I asked that question because that is not what I thought you would say. I thought you were gonna say, like,
What?
Cars Land or something with
Oh
landscapes, you know?
no, I Cars
You
Land is
know?
good. I've but like all it's once you've done it, you've done it. And with
Yeah.
Cars Land, I've shot that place every which way from Sunday. Um, and there's a lot of cool stuff to see, but once you've seen it, you've seen it. There's not a lot of change
Yeah.
versus the characters, the
True.
interactions, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
That is something new that I haven't seen in this shape at this time in this configuration. Avengers Campus is really variable. So and
I
plus,
love
then
that.
you have Grizzly Peak just beyond it. So if you're shooting Spider-Man, you get Grizzly Peak in
Yes.
there as well. And I Grizzly Peak is my favorite part, like my, visually, that's my favorite part of the park. So including that in there to like tie it in as DCA is always
Mhm.
fun.
It is very cool. I remember going the last time we went and we stayed in the Disneyland hotel, and my
Hmm.
kids, we stayed in the villas. So they were able to look out over, and
Ooh, hoo,
that's what
hoo,
you see.
hoo.
You see Grizzly Peak. Well,
Yeah.
five children. So like, but
Yeah.
anyway,
You have
but
to.
they're like, Mom, there's the bear. That's California Adventure.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, exactly. That is iconic.
Yeah.
You're talking about icons.
It
It
is.
truly
And
is.
I love that. The Grand Californian too is really nice to shoot if you ever
Yes,
stay there. Like as a guest, it's
it's
beautiful, but
beautiful.
if you stay there and you have access to the
Mhm.
concierge level or something and you can go around, just the little
Ooh,
details of like the craftsman art movement and the paintings and stuff they have. There's so many things to see there. And so I also like shooting that, mentioning hotels. I love shooting the Grand
yeah.
Californian.
No, it's gorgeous. I think it's my husband's favorite. Maybe the Wilderness Lodge rivals it a little bit at Disney World,
Yeah, it's
but it
kind of
is
the
2
same
different
level.
architectures. Yes,
Yeah.
um, but I'm glad that you have, continue your love with Disneyland. I'm glad that you still have that nostalgia for it, even though you did take a little break after,
Yeah.
coming out for a while. But what are you doing now? Where can we find you? What do you do now?
So now
Besides
I'm
Park Adventurers Club.
besides Park Adventurers Club. That's my main concern is what I'm doing here. But when I'm not welcome on the show because I've overspoken, I have the other stuff that I do is photography and AI and tech setups for small businesses. So
Oh, excellent.
I yeah, I do kind of, it was just photography, and then I added social media management, and then from there I added graphic design and web design, and then AI came out in a big way with like everyone started noticing it with ChatGPT, but it's so much more than just ChatGPT. So I started doing
Oh,
some
yeah.
app development and stuff, and I started teaching small businesses how to include some of these tech upgrades that are coming with this technological revolution that we're in, and I was
Mhm.
doing, client after client after client for a while until one of my clients, the biggest client that I had, was like, yeah, we're just going to bring you on salary. So now I'm just working there, and they have 3 venues under one roof. So I do all the tech stuff for them,
That's awesome.
ticketing for events and all this. And then I still do photography for a lot of the clients that come through their performance space. They have a jazz club upstairs. So I'm the house photographer. So I shoot everybody who
That's
comes
cool.
through, and like, Neil Sedaka performed with us for a while, and we get
Oh,
a pinup girl troupe came through, and so I get to shoot all of these people, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm doing a lot of model work right
that's
now.
awesome. That's great. And that's such a
Yeah,
creative outlet for you too. I mean, both are
yeah.
actually, even though you talk about tech and everything, you don't think that's very creative, but it is creative. So,
That it's a lot of tech. A lot of the tech stuff is graphic design, web design. Trying to figure out ways of when ChatGPT says no, but I still have to do it. Like, all right, let's figure a way around it.
yes, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and I really appreciate you giving us all of the history, your history with the Jungle Cruise and Indiana Jones and everything at Disneyland. I'd love it when you come on because I love talking Disneyland with you, Charlie, and I always have. I love watching you on a look on the plus side because you
No,
have
thank
such
you,
insight. Very intellectual conversations about the
thank
movies
you.
or TV shows or whatever you're reviewing. So I appreciate you coming on here, and I appreciate all of
Well,
you
thank you
for
for having
watching
me.
this episode of Castaways. Absolutely, anytime, come back. But thank you all for joining us tonight at Castaways, and please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget, keep making magic.